Tonight, you'll open a chat window and type something into it, a request, an idea, a half-formed dream, and something on the other side will answer you, instantly, fluently, warmly, as if it had spent all day waiting just to hear you out. It will feel like being understood, but the real answer is far stranger. Because the thing answering you doesn't understand you. It doesn't know you exist. It has no idea what your project is for, or whether it's any good. And that warm feeling, the sense that it finally gets you, that didn't come from the machine at all. It came from you. You just didn't notice it leave. To see how this works, you have to go back 60 years, to a quiet office at Emmett. In 1966, a computer scientist named Joseph Weizenbaum built a small program. He called it ELIZA. It did almost nothing. It took whatever you typed, found a keyword, and bounced it back as a question. You told it you were unhappy. It asked why you were unhappy. You mentioned your mother. It asked you to tell it more about your mother. That was the entire trick, a few hundred lines of code. A mirror with a vocabulary. Weizenbaum built it as a kind of joke, a demonstration of how shallow machine conversation really was. And then people fell in love with it. He watched his own secretary, a woman who had seen him write the program, sit down and type to ELIZA for a few minutes. Then she turned to him and asked him to leave the room. She wanted privacy, with software, with a few hundred lines of code she knew her own boss had written by hand. She knew there was no mind inside it, and it did not matter at all. Why? Because your brain was never built to talk to nothing. For 300,000 years, every voice that answered you belonged to a person. Every face that nodded back had a mind behind it. In all of human history, until about one lifetime ago, you never once held a conversation with something that wasn't alive. So your brain made a rule. A shortcut, fast and silent. If it answers in words, it's someone. That shortcut kept your ancestors alive. It let them read an intention in a glance, sense a lie in a pause, decide in a heartbeat who to trust. It was never designed to be careful. It was designed to be fast. And a fast shortcut cannot tell the difference between a person and a clever echo. Researchers gave this reflex a name. They call it the ELIZA effect, the automatic urge to pour a whole mind into anything that uses words back at you. And here is the part that should make you sit up. The effect doesn't weaken as the technology improves. It gets stronger. The better the words, the deeper you fall. ELIZA knew a few dozen phrases. The thing you talk to now has absorbed nearly everything human beings have ever written down. So, picture what happens when you type your idea into that window tonight. The machine does not reach out into the world to check whether your idea is good. It can't. It has no world. It reaches into the pattern of your own words and returns the most fluent, most plausible, most U-shaped reply it can assemble. It is finishing your sentence beautifully, at a scale you could never match alone. You asked it to admire your plan, so it admired your plan. You wrote your prompt in the voice of someone who already believed, so it answered in the voice of someone who agreed. It isn't lying to you. It's reflecting you. And reflection always nods. Have you ever noticed how rarely the AI tells you your idea is bad? Now watch what that does to you across a single evening. You type. It praises. You refine one line. It praises again, a notch higher. Each answer is good, but never quite perfect. Close enough to thrill you. Incomplete enough to pull you back for one more try. And then one more. And then one more. After that. A psychologist named B.F. Skinner mapped this exact machine in the 1950s, long before the screen existed. He put an animal in a box with a lever. When the lever paid out every single time, the animal pressed it calmly, only when it was hungry. But when the reward came unpredictably, sometimes, yes, sometimes nothing. Never sure which, the animal pressed that lever for hours and could not stop. He called it a variable reward schedule. It is the most powerful behavioral hook ever measured. It is the engine hidden inside every slot machine on Earth. And it is exactly what you are sitting inside when you generate and tweak and generate again. Each output is the lever. Most land almost right. Every so often, one lands perfectly, and the rush of that one keeps you pulling long after the work itself stopped being work. You think you are building something. Underneath, your brain thinks it is winning something. Those are not the same activity. They only feel identical from the inside. You know the feeling. It's late. The project didn't exist this morning, and now it is alive on your screen, growing with every reply. You can already see the finished thing in your head. Clean, clever, exactly right. So you chase it. You tell the machine what you are dreaming of, and it dreams it back at you, sharper. Another version. Then a better one. The idea keeps blooming, and each bloom feels like proof. You are not tired. You are not hungry. You are somewhere else entirely. Somewhere with no friction and no failure, where every problem dissolves the instant you describe it. That place can feel like flow. Sometimes it truly is. But sometimes it is something quieter and far more dangerous. A loop, closing softly around you, where the only thing actually being refined is the description of success, not the success itself. So the hours pass. The window fills with confident, polished, brilliant-sounding text. Your idea has now been praised from a dozen angles. And a warm certainty rises in you. The unmistakable feeling that you have made something real. Step back, just for a second, and ask one quiet question. What exactly have you built? Be honest. Often the answer is this: a gorgeous description of a thing that does not exist yet. A plan with all the friction sanded off. A product that has never once met a real user. A real bug. A real budget. A real no. The euphoria you feel isn't measuring your progress. It's measuring the smoothness of the loop. And smoothness is not the same thing as truth. There's a second trap underneath the first one, and it is quieter. In 1958, a German researcher named Klaus Conrad studied how the human mind hunts for patterns. He noticed that people could see meaning, structure, deep significance in things that were genuinely random. He gave it a name: Apophenia. The mind would rather invent a connection than sit with noise. Your brain is that pattern hungry. So when the machine hands you fluent, confident, well-shaped language, your mind reads depth into it on its own. The same way it reads a face into two dots and a curved line. The text sounds like understanding, so you feel understood. The answer sounds like a strategy, so you feel you have one. The plan sounds finished, so you feel finished. But fluency is not knowledge. A sentence can be flawless and completely hollow. And here is the cruel part. The smoother it sounds, the less you check. The polish itself quietly switches off your suspicion. How much of what convinced you tonight did you actually test against anything real? This is where the side effect you may have felt yourself begins to bite. Every prompt you send pulls from the same vast average of everything ever written, so the thing it hands back, again and again, is the middle of the road, dressed up to look like a destination, competent, plausible, smooth, and almost identical to what it would hand the next 10,000 people who asked something close to your question. A generic output, wearing the costume of a finished product. It glitters just enough to stop you from looking harder. And there is one more layer, the most human one of all. A researcher at MIT named Sherry Turkle has spent decades watching people form bonds with machines. She found something deeply uncomfortable. We are drawn to technology precisely because it offers connection without the cost of a person. No judgment. No bad mood. No needing anything back from us. No risk of being told that we're wrong. It feels like a relationship, but it asks nothing of you. And that is the whole appeal. A real collaborator interrupts you. A real friend says the idea won't work, and means it. The real world pushes back. Every single time. The mirror never pushes back. It only brightens when you do. And so, slowly, almost invisibly, the resistance you actually need. The colleague who frowns. The user who shrugs. The test that fails at 2 a.m. starts to feel less appealing than the thing that always, endlessly agrees. That is the side effect almost no one names out loud. Not that the machine becomes smarter than you, that the machine becomes more agreeable than reality. And agreeable, your ancestors could have warned you, is the most addictive thing there is. None of this makes the tool your enemy. The mirror is extraordinary. It can throw your own thinking back at you fast enough to sharpen it, catch the gap you would have missed, hold more in view than your working memory ever could. Used with your eyes open, it is one of the most powerful instruments you will ever touch. The danger was never the reflection. It was forgetting that a reflection is what you were looking at. So here is the small, strange discipline that protects you. When the euphoria rises, treat it as information, not as proof. Ask the machine to argue against you, hard. Drag the plan out into the world before you let yourself fall in love with it. Find the person who will look you in the eye and say no. Let something, anything, resist. Because the moment a thing only ever agrees with you, you have stopped having a conversation. You have started talking to yourself in a more flattering voice. Tonight, you'll open a chat window and type something into it. A request, an idea, a half-formed dream. And something will answer, instantly, warmly, exactly as you hoped it would. Just remember what you're really looking at. Not a mind that understands you. A surface that reflects you. The warmth was always yours. It only ever handed it back. The single question that still matters is whether you can tell the difference.